Uh, thank, thank you, Gaur Kumar Prabhu, Nitya Kishori Mataji. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to connect with all of you and glorify the pastimes of the Lord. Actually, before when I was preparing for the session, I was trying to meditate on what should be the proper mood while glorifying the Lord. So, yeah, among many other possible ulterior motives that may exist, um, the best possible mood I was thinking to have is to want to please senior devotees like Gaur Kumar Prabhu, Nitya Kishori Mataji. So, if somehow with this small attempt I can please them, that will be the success of this endeavor. And of course, amidst an ocean of ulterior motives that can exist. For instance, one prominent ulterior motive that may come up is the desire to impress the audience for self-aggrandizement. So I seek everyone's blessings so that I do this glorification with the proper mood and attitude uh, for the pleasure of our Guru Parampara and Srila Prabhupada, all the Vaishnava Acharyas, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, based on whose book we will be discussing the pastimes today. So thank you for joining. So yeah, the format of today's discussion will be like this. We'll first have some introduction about pastimes of the Lord. Why are they important for a sadhaka's journey? So what exactly are pastimes of the Lord? So does anyone remember the fifth stanza of Gurvashtakam that we sing every morning? Samsara Dava Nalalidha Loka.
Sri Radhika Madhavaivaraka Madhurya Leela Narupanamna.
Guna Rupa Namna. Thank you, Prabhu. So yeah, Guna Rupa, Madhurya Leela, Guna Rupa, and Nam. So basically, there are four aspects of the Supreme Lord's personality: Nam, Rup, Gun, and Leela. His holy name, it constitutes uh, one of the major aspects of his existence. I recently got to attend a seminar by Mahatma Prabhu, an online Japa retreat. It was just this weekend. And one amazing point he mentioned in that Japa retreat is from the Lord's treasury, if he has to give us some gift, what is the best gift he can give? That's his holy name. So yes, the holy name is such an important aspect of the Lord. So Nam, then Roop, his form itself. For devotees who have developed that higher refined taste in the personality of the Lord, they glorify the Lord's form with such elaborate descriptions. In this material world, we see one thing. Even most of the pious people, they try to summarize their spiritual life and expand on the material life. What do we mean by this? By summarizing the spiritual life means, oh, okay, you don't have to give so much time for God and all. Yeah, give 15-20 minutes, go to temple, say some prayers, and quickly hit the road and go back to your material life. So keep spiritual life in a summary format, but expand on material life. Most people tend to do that. In fact, we are talking about pious people. Atheists, anyways, have no interest in the Lord. However, those uh, who who are beginning to experience this refined taste of Krishna consciousness, their goal is to summarize material life. Material life is important. We have to somehow maintain this body, but we don't make it the all in all. We don't make it our ultimate aspiration. So we keep it in short, sweet, summary format. And spiritual life, we want to expand. So, Nam, Roop, devotees give such elaborate descriptions of the Lord's form. Then qualities of the Lord. Such amazing qualities he has. They bring tears to the eyes of listeners. Um, does any quality come to your mind that is most enchanting or endearing to you? Would anyone like to say some quality of
The quality of Bhakta Vatsalya.
Oh,
Reciprocity.
yes. That's the ultimate one. I was also thinking of the same. Yes. Would anyone else like to volunteer and say some quality of the Lord that enchants you? You find it very endearing.
Karuna Sindhu, Ocean of Mercy.
Karuna Sindhu. Amazing, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Karan Prabhu, you were saying something?
Vishal Prabhu was saying that the quality of stealing butter is very sweet.
Yes, yes. He is Makhan Chor. Yeah. Wonderful. And with he is even the stealer of devotees' hearts. Okay, yeah. So his gun and Nitya Kishori Mataji is sharing something that Krishna loves us. I'm just trying to expand the chat window. No matter who we are. Yes. Oh, that's such a wonderful quality of the Lord. No matter how insignificant we are, he loves us. Yeah. And the fourth aspect, a highly important aspect of his existence, and sadhakas are encouraged to move in that direction, is his lila, his wonderful activities. They are simply enchanting. The way he acts, whatever he does, of course, his name, form, qualities, pastimes, they are all intertwined together. Even within his leelas, some of his qualities will come out, like bhakta vashyata or bhritya vashyata. There's one amazing verse in Bhagavatam, 10th canto, either 8th or 9th chapter, in connection with the Damodar Leela, where Shukdev Goswami says, Evam sandarshita hyanga harina bhritya vashyata swavashenapi krishnena yasyedam seshwaram vashe. So Krishna, he has this amazing quality. Although he is the Supreme Lord, the master of everyone, even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, all are utterly dependent on him and utterly subordinate to him. But yet, now Shukdev Goswami changes the gear and says something about the Lord, which is so amazing, so endearing. Yet, that Supreme Lord, he has one transcendental quality. He comes under the control of his loving devotees. And that is what is being shown in this pastime, in this Damodar Leela. That's what Shukdev Goswami says. So, Leela, Gun, Roop, they are all intertwined together. They come together. So, one comment can be made about the Lord's pastimes is, if we compare our activities versus the Lord's activities in this material, of course, our activities in this material world, not in our eternal activities in connection with the Lord as Atmas, we are not talking about that, our activities here. If we compare them, we are forced to act for something or the other. If we don't act in this world, we won't get food to eat. We won't have a place for shelter. And without hunger, without food and sleep, without these requirements, basically these forces of material nature, they threaten our existence and they push everyone to act in this material world. But what about the Lord's activities? There's no force pushing him to act in any way. What is that verse? Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. There's one particular verse that says the Lord is not obliged to act in any way. So what is the basic motive or the driving force behind his activities? It's just pleasure. His own pleasure, the Lord simply acts to expand his own pleasure and the pleasure of his devotees. Now, when we hear this, oh, his pleasure, everything that's happening is for his pleasure, uh, it may sound like a selfish God or a selfish Lord. No, he is very, very merciful as well. In fact, we too are a part of his blissful pastimes. And as the acharyas reveal, devotees enjoy more than Krishna. That's such an amazing esoteric truth. Hmm? So Krishna is certainly not a selfish enjoyer and master. Hmm? Most spiritual traditions, they focus on the majestic aspect of God, wherein Jayadvait Maharaj uses this amazing phrase in his book, Vanity Karma, cosmic button pusher. Means imagine some operator at a cosmic level who pushes buttons and makes various phenomena happen in this world. So according to many traditions that focus only on the majestic aspect of God, God is like a cosmic button pusher. However, according to the Vedic tradition, according to Krishna consciousness, of course, Krishna consciousness is the cream of the Vedic traditions. God is a blissful enjoyer of pastimes. And as we discussed, he is not a selfish enjoyer. Those who serve him, they derive unlimited bliss as well. In fact, it's because of this spiritual truth that in giving pleasure to the Lord, there is ultimate pleasure even for us. Because this fact exists, even in this world, selflessness makes a person happy, not selfishness. In one particular talk given by Devamrit Maharaj in IIT Bombay, he was addressing a bunch of very bright students, the bright minds of IIT. And he began his talk with a very thought-provoking question, which they had no answer for. At material level, this cannot be answered. The question Maharaj asked was, in selfishness, we apparently gain something, but still we are miserable. It doesn't make us happy. In selflessness, we apparently lose something, but yet we are blissful. We are very happy. Why so? No answer. At material level, there's no answer to this. But at spiritual level, when we consider these truths, samsiddhir haritoshanam, watering the root supplies water to all parts of the tree, or another analogy given is supplying food to the stomach nourishes all parts of the body. Scriptures inform us of this spiritual truth. So when we consider that, that's the answer to this question. In giving pleasure to the Lord, there's ultimate pleasure, even for us. And therefore, even in this world, where most living entities live in forgetfulness of God, they derive pleasure in selflessness and not in selfishness. Okay, before we begin with Nimai's childhood mischiefs, let's listen to a short clipping of Radhesham Prabhu, one lecture where he describes a few pastimes, and really he shares amazing sweet details. So I'll just start sharing my screen. Oh, am I able to share the screen? I think I'll need permissions. Okay, and I'll share sound as well. Okay, so let's play a small video. Not video, it's an audio. And Prabhu, please let me know if you are able to hear this.
Read this one, this part of the purport.
Audible? Okay.
It is stated in this verse that the charming eyebrows of the Lord are so fascinating that they cause one to forget the charms of sense attraction. The, the conditioned souls are shackled to material existence because they are captivated by the charms of sense gratification, especially sex life. The sex god is called Makaradhwaja. The charming brows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead protect the sages and devotees from being charmed by material lust and sex attraction. Yamunacharya, a great acharya, said that ever since he had seen the charming pastimes of the Lord, the charms of sex life had become abominable for him, and the mere thought of sex enjoyment would cause him to spit and turn his face. Thus, if anyone wants to be aloof from sense attraction, he must see the charming smile and fascinating eyebrows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So basically, in this audio, though the purport deals with the form of the Lord, this is from the section where Lord Kapila describes how a yogi should meditate on the form of the Lord, third canto, chapter 28. But now Radhesham Prabhu will describe the pastimes of the Lord and how charming they are, how satisfying they are to the heart.
So, one should hear the charming pastimes of the Lord with his consort, Srimati Radharani. And by hearing such pastimes, one's heart becomes purified and one's attraction for the opposite sex in this world will be finished. That is said in one verse. Vikriditam brajavadubiridam cha vishnoho shraddhanvita anushrunayat atavarnayetya bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya kamam hridrogam ashvapahinoti achirena dhiraha. It is said, initially there is lust in our hearts, then when bhakti for Krishna enters, then bhakti and lust reside together. Then bhakti kicks out lust. And what remains? Only bhakti remains. So just like that the camel and sheikh story, no? First only sheikh was sleeping, snoring. The camel put his neck inside. Then it was very cold outside. Then camel came inside and kicked out the sheikh. Similarly, initially only lust is in our heart, then bhakti enters, then bhakti kicks out lust, and only bhakti remains. Like that he says. So in this way, the bhakti is very powerful. But this bhakti, especially is explained, Vikriditam, Brajavadubiridam cha Vishnu. One should hear the playful pastimes Lord Hari performs with his consorts, especially Srimati Radharani. For instance, generally you find Lord Vishnu, also you will find when he performs pastimes. See, the very word Leela means playful pastimes. The very word Leela. Leela means the Lord doesn't behave normally. He does something that charms the hearts of his devotees. Anugrahaya bhaktanam deham manushyamasthitah bhajate tadrishi krida ya shrutva tatparo bhavet. See, anugrahaya bhaktana, for his own devotees to show mercy. Deham manushamasita. The Lord behaves like a human being in this world, although he is Supreme Lord. And bhajate tadrishi krida, those who worship, those krida means what? Play, playful pastimes. Ya shrutva, by hearing which, tat paro bhavet, the devotee becomes transcendental by hearing these pastimes. So in the Padma Purana it is said, Mad Bhakta Vinodartam Karomi Vividaha Kriyaha. The Lord says, Mad Bhakta Vinod means what? Humor. To increase the fun and joy, jollity in the heart of my devotees, Mad Bhakta Vinodartam Karomi Vividaha Kriyaha. I do various activities, and those activities are called pastimes, the Lord says. How? For example, once when Maya Danava was, attacking the demigods, and demigods were attacking his asuras, but the asuras were all put in a pond made of kheer, and he was bringing them back to life again and again. And he had made 3 planes, and Shiva would attack, and the asuras would fall, and he would pick them up and drown them in that pond and take them out, they would again come back to life and attack again. So Shiva even got fed up. Can you imagine? Shiva said, what is the use of my killing? Because all the asuras are coming back to life. Shiva put his bow and arrow just like Arjuna did in the beginning of Kurukshetra. Shiva also put and he got tired. Other demigods were worried. If Shiva says, I am depressed, then what about us? If Mahadev says, I can't fight. At that time, Lord Vishnu decided to help. So, suddenly everybody in the battlefield, including Mahadanava, saw one cow and calf, very beautiful looking. They walked, you have seen cow, how it walks with that neck portion hanging like this. Cow was walking like that, along with the calf also running along with it. In the middle of the battlefield, can you see a cow and a calf? Very strange sight, no? And it came, and Mayadana was watching, he couldn't take any action. It drank all the payasam, all the kheer, completely made the pond empty by drinking it. Cow and calf, they finished it. And Mayadana was watching. Now the asuras were falling down dead, but he couldn't save them because the kheer was over, completely emptied. Mayadana at that time says, destiny is powerful, our exertions are useless. How this cow and calf finished the kheer, I don't know. He was selling. And then later on Shiva came to know. Now Shiva became very enthusiastic now. Then he finished all the asuras in 3 Purams, therefore he came to be called as Tripurari. That name was given to him. So, now who are that cow and calf? It was Vishnu and Brahma. They became cow and calf. So now you can imagine if Vishnu and Brahma come with their bow and arrows and fight with Mayadana. Mayadana is sending and they are sending fighting. That is also all right. But it won't be as humorous and funny as when the Lord comes in the form of a cow and calf. How many of you feel cow calf is more enjoyable to hear? Therefore Lord performs like this. Mad Bhakta Vinodartham. When devotees hear, they clap hands and say, wonderful, look at our Lord, what all ways he can come. Similarly, the Lord wants to destroy the pride arising from proprietorship of Bali Maharaj. Then he tells Aditi, don't worry, I will give back the Indra's kingdom back to the demigods. I will do that. Because Aditi performed the meditation, penance and everything. But the Lord came as Aditi's son, Vamana Dev, correct, no? Vamana was the effulgent Brahmana, carrying an umbrella and a pot with a deer skin, with a wooden sandals, and he walked to the sacrificial arena of Bali. When everybody saw, who is this effulgent Brahman? Everybody got up to respect him. When Vamana Dev went in, Bali Maharaj was especially very joyful that I can give charity to somebody very exalted Brahmana has come. So he asked him, what do you want? You all know what he asked. He just asked for 3 steps of land. And Bali was shocked. How can you ask for 3 steps? You are a little Brahmana and your intelligence seems to be little also. How can you ask for such a little place? Of course, he said, whatever you ask I may give you, but if I give you such a small piece of land, tomorrow people will criticize me. अगर बच्चा इतना थोड़ा बहुत मांगता है आप भी ऐसे दे दिया आप इतने बड़े हैं people will not criticize you, they will criticize me. Such a rich king possessing all the 3 worlds, so you are giving just 3 steps for a Brahmana. This is the way you treat a Brahmana, people will criticize me. Not only that, tomorrow you may get married, samsar बढ़ जाएगा. That time you may have children. अभी आगे जाकर जो जरूरत पड़ेगा उसके लिए अभी मांग लेना चाहिए, अकल होना चाहिए. You should have intelligence to ask. And he gave him clues and ideas on how he can increase the amount of land that he will give him. And he told him, I can give you a whole island, I can give you a whole planet, because everything in this world belongs to me. And Vamana was smiling, oh, everything belongs to you? Wait and watch what I do. Then you all know what he did. He became Trivikrama. And then how he measured all the 3 worlds in 2 steps, and there was no place to put the 3rd step, and the king had to give his head. And the king surrendered to him with great love. And the Lord also became his doorkeeper. So, this is a very, very beautiful pastime, because the Lord comes as a small Brahmana and then he becomes Trivikrama. Similarly, when the king surrendered, when Bali surrendered to Lord also surrendered to him. He said, you are so noble, you have surrendered to me at last, so I become your doorkeeper. like that. So how many of you feel it's a very nectarian pastime? Correct? So in this way, the Lord performs many playful pastimes. But among the playful pastimes, the topmost is Krishna in Vrindavan. Lord Krishna is a playful Lord, sportive Lord, naughty Lord, stealing Lord, mischievous Lord. You will see his that type of behavior in Vrindavan. So one time when Krishna, Balram, covered boys, along with Nanda Baba, Yashoda, I don't know what was the occasion, but they had gone to Barsana to eat at the home of Vrishabhanu. So Radharani and all her associates had cooked very nice, delicious preparations. And Radharani had made one Manoram Laddu. Any of you tasted Manoram Laddu? I only heard the name. It is somewhat like Rava Laddu type of thing. Rava Laddu is made with roasted Rava, with elachi, with saffron, with kadisakar, with ghee and sugar, along with cashew nuts, roasted cashew nuts, and they mix it together, and rava laddu is very tasty, delicious. So it was somewhat like that, very delicious laddu. Okay, how many of you eaten besan laddu? That is high class, isn't it? Isn't it? So like that she had made something. So when they were all serving, Krishna was also served some 4 laddus on his patal. So Radharani was hiding in the kitchen. Behind the door, there is a gap in the door, no? From that Radharani was watching. What is Krishna's response to the laddu that I prepared? And Krishna, what does he not know? He knows everything. So he was watching. Radharani and gopis are standing there. So purposely he took the laddu and put it in his mouth and twisted his face in such a way as if somebody has drunk Arundel. No? Now, Arundel means castor oil. If you drink castor oil, you can see how the face will look like. Like that he did. And Radharani was shocked. She told her friends, just see, I think you people have put namak, you put salt instead of sugar. Otherwise, why Krishna hates it? And other gopis were a little doubtful because they thought Krishna tends to be mischievous. They said, let us wait and watch. Then Madhumangal, seeing Krishna's situation, he said, Krishna, if you don't like it, don't worry, I will take care. So he took the balance laddus. And then all the gopis showed Radharani, see how this Madhumangal is eating one after another like this. Then Radharani understood this fellow is a mischievous fellow. So like this, Krishna performs past.
Okay. So, that was a short 12-minute clip. It really helps us connect with the pastimes of the Lord. Radhesham Prabhu has such a charming way of describing pastimes, adding some nice, sweet details. So, when the Lord comes in, among his incarnations, we have very powerful incarnations like Narsimhadev, Varahadev, then even Lord Vaman. He didn't display a full range of human pastimes, although Lord Vaman's form is more closer to a human form. But still, when the Lord comes in human form, he displays a full range of human pastimes, childhood pastimes, childhood, boyhood, youth, and old age. He usually doesn't display, but even if he does, for that matter, it will still be very charming. Of course, Krishna remains an ever fresh youth, even on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It is said he was either 125 years old, Prabhu, or 173. Around 125. Yeah.
25, yeah.
So Krishna was still a fresh, blooming youth. So, he displays a full range of pastimes, except old age. At least I haven't heard of he taking the form of an old man. But even if he does, it will still be very charming. And how do we know that? What is Lord Varaha's form? Boars are usually not attractive, but still, when the Lord comes as a boar, as Lord Varaha, he is supremely attractive. So, this is his world of pastimes. It's actually, if we see, that's the real world. And we too, as Atmas, are a part of that world. Often, there's this mentality among pious people, and earlier, I must admit, I too had this mentality that spiritual life is meant for applying in material life. We hear nice stories from Ramayana, Mahabharata, Krishna Leela. We should learn nice lessons from it and apply it in our real life, quote unquote, real life. But as we spend more time in Krishna consciousness, as if we plug into the Acharya's teachings, they emphatically teach us that actually that world is the real world. Whereas this world is a place where we learn some lessons. It's a temporary life of a few years, few decades. We learn a few lessons so that we can apply them in that real world of the Lord's pastimes. So with this perspective, if we approach the Lord's pastimes, oh, we can get so much out of it. We'll listen to another short clipping of Radhesham Prabhu toward the end, conclusion part of the session, and Prabhu will mention how Gayanta Ananda Samudramagna in one of the prayers of Gajendra. He says, Ekantino yasyana kanchanartham vanchanti evai bhagavat prapanna ati adbhutam tacharitam sumangalam. Ati adbhut. Tacharitam, his charitra, the Lord's charitra, is ati adbhut and sumangalam. And what does this charitra, the pastimes of the Lord, do? What do devotees do with that? What do devotees have to get out of that? Well, the Lord is acting, but what do we get out of it? Gayanta Ananda Samudramagna. We get to dive into an ocean of bliss. So with this context, we'll enter the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We had a good number of pastimes to discuss, but we'll cut it short given the time limitations. Let's try to end within 25-30 minutes, maybe, as long as Gaur Kumar Prabhu thinks it's appropriate. Some pastimes we'll just briefly skip through, and the major content of today's session is Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu's mischiefs at Ganga. Oh, they are just so enchanting. So, when we study these two literatures, one by Vrindavan Das Thakur, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and one by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit, they are full of amazing pastimes of the Lord. So Chaitanya Bhagavat specifically focuses more on the childhood pastimes. Most of the childhood pastimes we hear about Lord Gaurang Mahaprabhu, they are from Chaitanya Bhagavat. So the main sources of today's discussion are Chaitanya Bhagavat and Radhanath Maharaj's series of lectures. If you see in ISKCON Desiratory, Gaur Leela, it has 3 folders, I think. So it's an amazing series to listen to. Some devotees listen to it every Gaur Purnima, before every Gaur Purnima. So, yes, as the Lord, right from his childhood, now as Gaurang Mahaprabhu, he displayed a full range of humanly pastimes. First as an infant, and then boyhood, youth, and then an adult. So he displayed this full range of pastimes, as opposed to some other incarnations that just come for some time for a small purpose. So the Lord, right from his childhood, right from the time he appeared in this world, he began preaching through crying. He would just cry, and the only way to pacify little Nimai, or another name that was given to him, was Vishwambhar. The only way to pacify him was to start chanting Hari's name. So all the neighboring ladies, they were such loving mothers. They, just like in Krishna Leela we hear, all the mothers of Vrindavan, more than their own children, they loved Krishna. So, and Krishna did fulfill their desire in one particular Leela. And which was that?
Brahma Vimohan Leela Prabhu.
Yeah, Brahma Vimohan Leela. Thank you, Vrindavatari. Yes, so these neighboring ladies of even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they had such affection for the Lord. Whenever the Lord would cry, more than their own place, they would they would look forward to spending time with Nimai. And they would just want to make him smile. And whenever Nimai would cry, they would come together, clap hands, sing Hare Krishna. The first volume of Chaitanya Bhagavat, if everyone can see. What does it show? Nimai with all the neighboring ladies. So this is a 7-volume set. I think commentaries are by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave commentaries in Bengali. The English translations of both the original verses of Vrindavan Das Thakur as well as commentaries of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, translations have been done by one devotee, Bhumipati Das Prabhu, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So yeah, it's an ISKCON edition of Chaitanya Bhagavat. So now when Gaurang Mahaprabhu would, when these motherly ladies from the neighborhood, when they would sing for the Lord's pleasure, he too would want to reciprocate with them. And how he would reciprocate? He would go around outside, and anyone he would meet, he would ask them, can you give me some sweets, some sandesh? Can you give me some banana? And Nimai, being so charming, so attractive, anybody, even someone who didn't know Nimai, who didn't know this family of Jagannath Mishra, Shachi Devi Mishra, they too would just, their hearts would melt and they would give whatever Nimai would ask. So Nimai would come back, enter his home, and he would distribute these sweets among these motherly figures just to reciprocate with their love. One particular day, a snake came into the courtyard of Jagannath Mishra, Shachi Devi, and Nimai, understanding who is there, he just ran out into the courtyard. And this snake made a beautiful coil, and Nimai sat reclined on this snake. So Nimai was, in fact, that snake, it is said, was Anantashesh himself, Lord Balram, coming as that snake to serve his Lord. So anyways, later on, Nityanand Prabhu, the original Balram himself, came. But even in this pastime, Lord Anant Shesh comes to have some association of Nimai. Now seeing this snake, everyone was so panicked, so afraid. They started crying, Garuda, Garuda, and they tried to drive that snake away. Now seeing the pathetic situation of the Lord's devotees, Lord Ananta, who had come in the form of that snake, he thought, okay, I shouldn't bewilder the Lord's devotees so much. So he left from there. But even when he was going away from there, Nimai was behind him. No, wait, where are you going? Stop, stop. So yes, that is one amazing childhood pastime. One particular day, Nimai, when he was a toddler, probably walking, had just learned walking. Of course, the Lord knows everything. The word learnt is incongruous here in this context, but yet he is performing his human pastimes. So when Nimai was playing in his courtyard, seeing all the jewels and ornaments on his body, he was so decorated. Of course, the Lord doesn't need any decorations. He decorates the ornaments that he is like the ornamenter of ornaments. Being present on his body, the ornaments get their true purpose. Hmm. So seeing his ornaments, two thieves, they picked him up and they were planning to take him to their place. And while they were carrying him, Mahaprabhu, little Nimai, was asking them, "Where are we going?" So those two thieves said, "Don't worry, we are going home. We are taking you home." But they planned to take him to their place so that they could rob him completely. Okay, Nimai nodded his head. Okay, let's go home. And they thought they reached their place. And they said, "Okay, we have reached home." And they were thinking in their mind that they have reached their place. But where had they reached? Jagannath Mishra's place, Nimai's place. And as soon as they put Nimai down, Nimai said, "Okay, thank you," and ran inside. They were just bewildered. Huh? We thought we took the right path. Did you make a mistake? Did we take the wrong turn? So they were just bewildered. What happened? And in the meanwhile, everyone at home was just bewildered. They were so panicked. They were searching for Nimai. They couldn't find him. It was like losing their very life. Hmm. Uh, so they were searching for Nimai. And when they saw Nimai again, it was like their life coming back. And they asked Nimai, "Where were you and who brought you back?" So Nimai was saying, "Oh, there were these two gentlemen. They brought me back home." So everyone wanted to go and thank him, give him put some turban on his head, on those two thieves' head, to thank them, to give them some sweets. But those thieves, they were afraid. They thought, "No, let's not hang out here." They ran away. So yeah, and then there's another amazing pastime of Jagannath Mishra, Shachi Devi inviting one mendicant Brahmana home. And that Brahmana, he was a traveling Brahmana. He usually just subsisted on some fruits and roots. But whenever somebody invited him home, he would cook for the Lord. He always carried a deity of Gopal with him. So they invited him home. They asked him, he said, "Okay, I won't take any food prepared by anyone else. I cook for my own deities and I'll have that." So they prepared the kitchen for him. And as soon as the bhoga was ready, he was offering. When he opens his eyes, he sees little mischievous, naughty Nimai eating those offerings. And he was so bewildered. "Oh, what has this little child done? This cannot be an offering to my Gopal now. Okay, maybe Gopal doesn't want me to eat." So this happens a couple more times. And then the third time, somehow the Lord puts everyone to sleep. And um, the first two times when it happens, Jagannath Mishra is very angry. He's running behind Nimai with a stick. And Nimai somehow escapes. That Brahmana, that mendicant himself requests, "No, no, please don't beat him. He's just a small boy. He doesn't know what he's doing." Then, anyways, somehow two times Nimai escapes a beating. And when it happens for the second time, they put Nimai to sleep in a room and they lock that room. But somehow, when the Brahmana is convinced to make bhoga for his Gopal deity again, somehow Nimai's the Yog Nidra Devi, who is subordinate to Nimai, who is an energy of the Lord, comes there and puts everyone to sleep. And Nimai, even this third offering made by this mendicant Brahmana, Nimai tastes it. And now the Brahmana makes that same commotion. "Oh, hi, hi, you have spoiled my offering." But everyone is asleep. And now Nimai gives him darshan. "What is my fault? Every time you call me, and because you call me with so much love, I come and I accept the offering. And why are you complaining?" And then the darshan which Nimai gives him as Krishna in Vrindavan, he manifests the whole of Vrindavan. That Brahmana, he's just so ecstatic. He faints. He's again and again, he falls on the ground, gets up. He's fully ecstatic. And then the Lord tells him, "Don't tell about this to anybody else." Okay. And uh, then Nimai, Krishna comes back to his form of Nimai, goes to sleep. And then Yog Nidra lifts her influence off, and everyone wakes up and they see this Brahmana, he's in ecstasy. He's not just eating the rice, he's even smearing it all over his body, and he's dancing madly. So that's a wonderful pastime. We couldn't go in much into the details of this. So now Nimai, when he grew up a little more, he was sent to school. Such an amazing student he was. Very quickly he learned all the Bengali alphabet. So fast he was in learning. And then whenever he would go to school, he was still a boy, a small boy. And he started going to school, and the kind of mischiefs he began. Specifically, his favorite pastime was playing in the Ganga. Almost for 6 hours, he would play with his friends in the Ganga. And we will go through this pastime of Nimai's mischiefs at Ganga in a meditative way, in the sense, I have heard in a few lectures of Radhanath Maharaj, the more we can visualize the Leela and try to go into the mood of the Leela, we can appreciate it more. We can take it to our heart more. And that helps us attain higher and higher stages of bhakti. So, so we will go through Nimai's mischiefs more in a meditative way, as in, what if somebody did that to you? We put ourselves in shoes of some of the devotees who experience these mischiefs of Nimai, and we'll try to experience what they felt and the kind of bliss they must have experienced. So I'll quickly recite a couple of verses from this particular chapter. This is chapter 6 of Adi Leela. So Nimai, when he started going to school, when in the afternoon the school would get over, when they would have their break, just like if we can recall our childhood, getting a break and school over, how children start running in excitement. Oh, school is done. Or even when vacations start. So similarly, for Nimai and his friends, when school was done, their favorite pastime was playing in the Ganga. So Vrindavan Das Thakur says, Dubila chanchalya rase prabhu vishwambhara samhati cha palayata dvijera koyara padiya shuniya sarva shishugana sange ganga snane madhyane cha lena bahurange. The translation is, Lord Vishwambhar drowned in the mode of a restless child as he sported with other restless Brahmana boys. At noon, after their studies, the Lord and his friends joyfully went to bathe in the Ganges. So, when the Lord would go to bathe in the Ganges, his form has been described. There would be some dust, a thin layer of dust on his golden complexioned body, and his hair would get a slight layer of dust and some drops of ink. And now usually these items, they hide one's beauty. They don't make anyone look beautiful, but it is described these these were like decorations on the beautiful form of little Nimai. So Nimai, when he would be at the Ganges, he would dive into Ganga, and sometimes he would go inside, then come out, sometimes floating on the surface of Ganga, enjoying his own creation. So, and occasionally, when there would be some others bathing in the Ganga, he would splash water on them with his feet. And most of them elder to Nimai. So they would scold Nimai. They would ask him to stop. No, Nimai, you should not do that. But still, Nimai jokingly would continue doing that. And they would try to catch him. But Nimai was too fast. They couldn't catch him. He would just run away. He would swim very fast and go to the other side. Now let's do a small meditation kind of an exercise. Please feel free to close your eyes. And yeah, now imagine you go to a holy river and you have a nice bath in the river. And now you come out, you are wiping your body. You are eager to go back and proceed with your day, either spiritual activities or other duties in relationship with this world. And a mischievous young boy comes and puts sand on you while you are still wet and about to wipe yourself. How would it feel? There's sand on you again. Wouldn't it be frustrating? Oh, I just had bath and I have to go and have bath again. So that's what Nimai would do. And often his friends would also join him. When Nimai would begin the mischief, his friends would also join and put sand on whoever has just had a bath. Sometimes Nimai just spat water from his mouth onto somebody who just had a bath, and they would be compelled to go and have bath again. Now, another meditation. Let's do. Imagine you are meditating near a river, let's say in Navdvip itself, near the Ganga. You're experiencing the calmness and the serenity of the flowing water. Whatever you like to meditate on, usually the meaning of life, the purpose of life, what is happening in your life, and trying to understand it from the philosophical perspective. And while you are in this deep meditation, suddenly a bucket of water is poured on you. How does it feel? And now you are completely drenched. It's shocking, isn't it? That's what Nimai and his friends did. And of course, there's no bucket mentioned there. It's just mentioned that they poured water on somebody who is meditating and completely drenched that person. And they had a big laugh after doing that. And at some other time, now many of these mischiefs of Nimai, they are described through the complaints of some of the elderly men of Navdvip. They come and complain to Jagannath Mishra. They say to him, "Oh, your little son Nimai, he's just so mischievous. He almost spends 6 hours on the Ganga, and he spoils our meditation." So one of them said, whenever I'm meditating, he comes and spoils my meditation. Now imagine you are meditating and your eyes are closed and someone just comes and shakes you and disturbs your meditation and speaks some taunting words. It may feel disturbing, but what would Nimai do? He would say to somebody, "Who are you meditating on? I am the Lord for this Kali Yuga. You should meditate on me." So Nimai played such mischiefs. Of course, we are going to see later on all these people who are making complaints about Nimai. They are actually, by speaking about Nimai, they are drowning in an ocean of bliss. Just like the mothers of Vrindavan who would come and complain to Mother Yashoda. It was their ecstasy to complain about Nimai. So one of them complained that whenever I go to the Ganga with my shivling to worship Lord Shiva, there's a custom of offering Ganga Jal to shivling also. So whenever I go to the Ganga with my shivling, as I'm coming out eagerly to worship my shivling after my bath, I see Nimai stealing away my shivling and laughing, having fun doing this. So someone launched this complaint. Then another fatherly figure said, I saw him running away with my chadar, my upper cloth, uttariya, also it is called. And he just ran away with it. And I had no fresh cloth to put on after my bath. So then one particular Brahmana, he complained, when I go and prepare offerings for Lord Vishnu, imagine somebody, a devotee of Lord Vishnu, making a nice seat for the Lord, bringing a plate with nice food items and chandan and various other items. And he goes to have bath, and then he comes out and he sees a mischievous young boy sitting on that seat which he prepared for Lord Vishnu. And uh, this devotee would see Nimai sitting there on the seat and eating all the offerings. And then after eating all the offerings, Nimai would take the chandan, put it on himself, and then seeing that devotee approaching, he would run away. And Nimai would have a laugh doing this. And then when that devotee of Lord Vishnu, who was going to make that offering, would lament, "Oh, what have you done, Nimai? My offering has been spoiled." Nimai would make a taunting comment. "Why are you lamenting? He for whom you made all these offerings has himself enjoyed them." And of course, by the influence of the Lord's Yogamaya, these devotees, they did not see the Lord as the supreme personality of Godhead, as being non-different from Krishna or Narayan. But yet, now, as we read these pastimes, in retrospect, this thought did come up in my mind. If I was at their place, probably I would not complain. I would warmly welcome them. "Oh, Nimai, come. Okay, yes, please splash water on me with your feet." In retrospect, sitting in 21st century, we may think, okay, I would have been felt so fortunate accepting being targets of Nimai's mischiefs. But actually, what is the best thing to do? To welcome these mischiefs with an attitude of servitorship, or to show some disturbance and scold Nimai? What is better to do? Which of these? If this question comes up, the answer is whatever pleases the Lord. So if showing disturbance and manifesting some scolding Nimai, or complaining to Jagannath Mishra about Nimai, if this is what pleases the Lord, then yes, being a part of his Leela means we are willing to serve him in any way possible. So these residents of Navdvip who are launching complaints about Nimai, they are not ordinary persons. A couple of more verses from this same chapter. It is said here, "Janme janme Krishna bhakta ei sab jana, ए सब उत्तम बुद्धि इहार कारण, अतएव प्रभु निज सेवक सहिते, नाना क्रीड़ा करे केहा ना पारे बूझिते." Because these Brahmanas had all been devotees of Krishna for many lifetimes, they had fine intelligence. In this way, the Lord enjoyed various pastimes with his eternal servants, which ordinary people cannot understand. So, by playing these wonderful leelas, the Lord gave so much pleasure to all these devotees. Maybe we'll go for 6 more minutes, if that's okay, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you. And now imagine, again, feel free to close your eyes and imagine yourself in the midst of Ganga, standing somewhere at a stable location and chanting Gayatri or some other mantras for the pleasure of the Lord, offering prayers to Ganga. And suddenly, someone pulls your legs from down. And the next moment, you find yourself completely submerged in the water. How does it feel? That's what Nimai would do with some of them. While they are chanting, he would just pull them from down, he and his friends, and they would have big fun, a big laugh watching all that. So one of the elderly persons who is making complaints to Jagannath Mishra says this. Then Nimai would steal somebody's Bhagavad Gita. He would steal somebody's fresh clothes and flowers. Now, in another meditative way of going into this Leela, one particular mischief of Nimai was, imagine, again, feel free to close your eyes. Imagine standing on the bank of a beautiful flowing river. You are absorbed in watching the graceful current of the river. And suddenly, a young mischievous boy jumps onto your back and uses you as a diving board and then jumps into the river. How does that feel? Funny, isn't it? So Nimai would do that. He would climb on somebody's back and then say loudly, "I am Mahesh." And then he would jump into Ganga. So, and now comes the ultimate one. Oh, this is, I was literally, when I read this, I was roaring with laughter. What must have happened to all the Navdvip residents who experienced this? Now, again, feel free to close your eyes and imagine yourself bathing in a ghat designated for your particular gender. Now, uh, even in today's degraded age, when men and women freely mix with each other, but still the bathrooms or restrooms are separate for men and women. So, what to speak of earlier times when there were when people were so much more cultured. So definitely in Navdvip, at the banks of Ganga, there were separate designated bathing ghats, separate for men, separate for women. And yeah, there would be no confusion at all anytime. So imagine yourself bathing in one of the ghats designated for your gender, men at the men's ghat, women at the women's ghat. Now you come out and you are expecting to dry yourself up, wear your clothes, and suddenly you see some different type of clothes. Which clothes? Men see women's clothes and women see men's clothes in their bathing heart. How would that feel? What thoughts would come to your mind? Would anyone like to say something?
I'm not going to change.
Yeah, I'm not going to change. Am I expected to wear these ladies' clothes? No way. Somebody in a male body would think like that. Huh? Or did I mistake? Say, for example, someone in female's body would think, oh, have I mistakenly come to the men's bathing ghat? I thought I came to the right place, but where am I? So it would be a panicky situation, isn't it? So it would really embarrass everyone. And that's what Nimai and his friends would do with the residents of Navdvip. They would exchange men and women's clothes. And of course, Nimai was just a young boy, mischievous boy. He was of an age when um, one doesn't distinguish between one gender and another. Or in other words, of course, the Lord is beyond puberty and all these things. But from a conventional perspective, he was still of an age when there's no distinguish. One doesn't see any difference between men versus women. Beyond a certain age, then, yeah, somehow the body starts seeing a difference between the two genders. So, and finally, after going through this embarrassing situation, they would find out the cause of their embarrassment. Nimai and his friends hiding somewhere nearby watching the fun and roaring with laughter. So now, of course, Chaitanya Bhagavat doesn't mention how um, the men and women resolve this situation. It's just left up to the readers to figure out what could have happened. Anyways, now we'll quickly wrap up in another minute or two. So at the same time, some ladies also came and they complained to Mother Shachi what Nimai does to them. And these were young girls who were of the age of marriage, technically called Kumaris. Chaitanya Bhagavat uses the word Kumaris. So Nimai would, one of the girls complained, Nimai, whenever we bathe, Nimai comes and throws sand on us, he and his mischievous friends. So now another mischief of Nimai. Imagine you are walking by the Ganga and there's a calm atmosphere around. Suddenly, somebody comes and shouts loudly in your ears. Something very loud. Would be shocking, isn't it? Nimai would do that with some of the young girls, the Kumaris. So one of them made a complaint. And then now imagine a young girl is approached by a very small boy and he says to that girl, I want to marry you. So that's what Nimai did with some of the Kumaris. And they made a complaint to Mother Shachi like that. So, so now after the complaints, Shachi Mata said to these young girls, when Nimai comes back, I'll give him a good beating and I'll tie him up. Okay, you don't worry. And then she smiles and hugs all of them and they touch her feet and they go back. Now Jagannath Mishra, he's very angry. He takes a stick in his hand and he goes to the Ganga to search for Nimai. And he's storming with anger toward Ganga. Where is Nimai? Where is Nimai? Now, being the super soul of everyone, Nimai realizes that Jagannath Mishra is coming toward Ganga. And he says, but still he continues with his pastime. So some of these Kumaris who had earlier complained to Shachi Mata about Nimai's mischiefs, they tell Nimai, actually they all loved Nimai. The Lord is supremely attractive for everyone. So they warn Nimai, your father is coming here. We must warn you. So just run away from here and save yourself. And then Nimai, he just tells his friends, okay, if my father comes here and asks for me, just tell him that today I did not come for bathing in the Ganga. Today I directly went home. So, okay, they agree to it. And then Nimai takes another route and he goes home. And when he goes home, when he reaches home, he's as if water hasn't touched him for a few hours. There's still that usual thin layer of dust on his body, which beautified him so much more. There are some spots of ink, which again beautified him. And then he comes home. He says to Mother Shachi, Mother, I want to go and have bath. Can you please give me some oil? So Mother Shachi, she's ecstatic seeing him. And she starts wondering, oh, looks like he didn't go for bathing today. And then in the meanwhile, Jagannath Mishra reaches Ganga. He asks Nimai's friends and they say whatever Nimai had asked them to say. And then Jagannath Mishra, he's frustrated. Oh, where is Nimai? I am unable to search him. And then, yeah, those men who had earlier complained to Jagannath Mishra, they again come to him. And just to add more jest to the pastime, they tell him the truth. Actually, Nimai ran away when he knew that you are coming to look for him. Next time, if we see him, we will ourselves catch him and we will hand him over to you. And then they laugh and then they actually speak out their heart. Actually, we are not disturbed by whatever Nimai does. even if he commits millions of offenses, we still cherish being around him. You are the most fortunate father to have him as your son. And then Jagannath Mishra also says, please, Nimai is your son as well. Please don't take offenses at whatever he does, but I will still discipline him. And then Jagannath Mishra goes back home and he also sees Nimai. He's surprised to see Nimai not have any signs of having visited the Ganga. And then Nimai, as soon as Jagannath Mishra comes, just like a good son would welcome his father, he welcomes Jagannath Mishra and climbs on him, hugs him. And seeing Nimai, Jagannath Mishra forgets all his miseries and all his mental disturbances, basically, over all the complaints that were launched against Nimai. Of course, these are not worldly mental disturbances. These are spiritual anxieties that actually increase the bliss of the devotees. So Jagannath Mishra then asked Nimai, Nimai, what kind of misbehavior this is? I heard you never allow anybody to have bath. You eat Lord Vishnu's offerings. Do you think this is a good thing to do? And then Nimai says, well, today I did not even go to the Ganga. I directly came here. My friends must have done this, but they are all blaming me. But now that they are speaking all these things about me, I will actually do some mischief. And Nimai gets an excuse to continue doing his mischiefs. So, okay, then Jagannath Mishra, anyways, he is unable, just being drowned in that love, he's unable to say anything. He's unable to scold Nimai further. And Nimai goes back to the Ganga. His friends welcome him. Good job, Nimai. You duped everyone very nicely. And you saved yourself from a good beating today. Very good job. And they continue with their mischiefs. And here at home, Shachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra, they are wondering, who is Nimai? Maybe Krishna himself, Shri Nandanandan, Shri Yashodanandan, maybe he has himself descended as Nimai, as our son. Or if not Krishna, at least some other great person must have descended as our son. Certainly, all those Brahmanas who came and complained, and all those young girls who came and complained, certainly they were not lying. But yet, when Nimai came home, he had no signs of having visited the Ganga at all. He certainly must be a great mystic personality. So as they were wondering, Nimai comes back home after doing some more mischief at Ganga, and seeing Nimai, they are again drowned in a pool of ecstasy. And that's how the Supreme Lord played his wonderful pastimes, which are described in the Adi Leela. We will end here. Of course, there are so many more pastimes, but time doesn't permit us. So, yes, in conclusion, if we can simply think what an ocean of pleasure that Lord must be, who has created this whole cosmic manifestation. Certainly in this world, there are some enjoyable things. Certainly when good food is put on the tongue, it does produce pleasure. Certainly when male and female flesh comes in contact, it does produce some pleasure. Now can you imagine that Lord who has created all these phenomena? What an ocean of pleasure he must be. And what an ocean of pleasure must be. It must be when we get to enter his realm of Leela. And that's where we actually belong as Atmas. And that's where we are aspiring to go back. Okay, so we'll end here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I hope I did not put anybody to sleep. Maybe there was hardly any discussion at all. But hopefully the pastimes of Nimai, I hope I did some justice in glorifying the Lord. Gaur Kumar Prabhu,
So this was
whatever you instruct me now.
This was amazing, Prabhuji. I mean, I really liked how you told all the pastimes. Just loved it. So Bhakti Rasamrit Swami always says that for every pastime that Krishna performs, there's a parallel that happens in Sridham Mayapur. So there is a parallel of every pastime that happens when Krishna was a boy and when Nimai, the same Lord Krishna, performed the pastimes in Mayapur. So, and you brought it out so nicely. The mischievousness of Nimai has a wonderful parallel also as Bal Gopal. So thank you for bringing that out, Prabhu. That was wonderful. If anybody has any comments, I'm sure several devotees want to talk about your class, or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Prabhuji, you have some time now?
Yes, yes. All my time is for you. But
Thank you, Prabhu. So,
I feel bad about going beyond. I
no,
think
please don't
we
feel
should have
bad. Also,
stopped at
you
10.
mentioned that you wanted to play a clip of Radhesham Prabhu.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. Can we?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
that's it's a very small clip, just
Sure.
1.5 minutes,
Sure,
not
sure.
long like the first one.
Please.
I'll just share my screen. Okay, here it is.
भक्ति एकांतिनो यस्य न कंचनार्थं वाञ्छन्ति ये वै भगवत्प्रपन्नाः अत्यद्भुतं तच्चरितं सुमङ्गलं गायन्त आनन्द समुद्रमग्नाः. This is by Gajendra. He talks about the Shuddha Bhakti. Ekantino yasa na kanchanartham vanchanti, he says, which means anyabhilashita shunyam. Why? Bhagavat prapanna. They are surrendered to the Supreme Lord. And then, okay, what do you get by surrendering to the Supreme Lord? Atyadbhutam, tatcharitam, sumangalam. The food the devotee gets is the colorful pastimes of the Supreme Lord with his devotees. Really? Okay, Lord has performed pastimes. What do you get out of it? Gayanta Ananda Samudramagna, he saying. The devotees keep on hearing it and repeating it, and in that it's Ananda Samudram, he's saying. If one really gets a relish, then it is an ocean of bliss, and the devotee is like a dolphin jumping up and down in that ocean, very ecstatically. And that is the only food a devotee relishes, nothing else. All other things of the material world become stale, pale, and insignificant for the devotee. So in this way, that is one verse for the Shuddha Bhakti that Gajendra talks about.
Okay, yeah, that's all. It was a small clipping.
Yes. So yeah,
Okay.
it was like an ocean of bliss, Prabhu, listening to you recite these wonderful pastimes from Adi Leela. Thank you so much. If anybody has any comments, please feel free to.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Shivash Chandra Prabhu. First time I'm hearing you. It's been a wonderful feeling and experience. And far from putting us to sleep, you actually transported us all to the Gaur Leela by. And it's not true that it was not interactive, because you did have us do those activities where we closed our eyes and imagined to be in Krishna's pastime. So that was very effective, I felt. One more thing I felt was very effective is how you prepared our consciousness by talking about the importance of hearing the Leela of the Lord. Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namna. You spoke about the four aspects. That was really wonderful. It helped. It helped form the correct perspective before hearing the Leelas, actual Leelas. So yeah, it was very wonderful, and I really admire your Shastric knowledge and the way you recite verses. So, which is something I like as well. And yeah, it's very nice to gain inspiration from you. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Your kindness that you are encouraging me with your words, but I have heard you ask questions, make comments. I missed the opportunity to hear you when you gave the talk, but I'll look forward to catching up with the recording. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare
Thank you for amazing class. I really loved how you you created a build up from the beginning before getting to the pastimes, and how you also got us the audio clip of Radha Shyam Prabhu. So I really heard you like first time, and it was like totally different mood of hearing the Leelas, as you said, like in the beginning, that you were meditating what mood that you should, give you should prepare yourself to give this class. But I feel like whatever you meditated, it was like it touched my heart. So thank you, Prabhuji. It was very amazing.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, sincerity does certainly inspire me. Thank you for your kind words. Any reflections anyone would like to share from the class? We have some comments also. Athina Mataji loved the meditations and audio clip. And yeah, thank you, Mataji. And thank you, Vinay Prabhu. Thank you, Nitya Kishori Mataji also. Says the meaning behind the Lord's mischief. Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu, if I can. Thank you so much for the amazing class, Srivas Prabhu. So like in Brooklyn and Bhakti Center, I had sometimes opportunity to sit with like Prabhuji in person, and then he will share some katha and like, but that were also like really amazing. But like in this Zoom setting, like you are giving class, so that felt like really powerful, Prabhu. Thank you so much. And all the meditations, all the recitations, and then clips of Radhesham Prabhu in between, those all were like, I mean, we didn't lose track at in between, like just following up with everything you were speaking. So it was really amazing. Thank you so much. We want more classes from you, Prabhuji, in the coming time. Yeah.
Yeah, Gaur Kumar Prabhu, Nitya Kishori Mataji.
Yes.
Actually,
This is all, yeah, mercy of Gaur Kumar Prabhu that he is like like we are getting chance to hear you. Yeah.
Vinay Prabhu, do you remember when we were walking outside Brooklyn Temple and Srivas Chandra Prabhu gave us that Jambavan Leela?
Yeah, like that Shamantaka Mani story. Yeah. We had some confusion, so Prabhu cleared our doubts about characters and like pastimes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. And thank you because you see some the eagerness of those who want to hear the Lord's Leelas. They just create that atmosphere. That was the main driving force behind being able to go into the Leela of the Lord. Yeah. So thank you for your enthusiasm.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so if there are no more comments, we can end now. So thank you all so much for joining. So Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
Sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnavindra.
Koti Vaishnavavrinda ki
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Praise Srivas Chandra Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Praise Gaur Kumar Prabhu ki jai.
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 Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis ki jai.